Hi, these comments are from Mel, and this is Michael from BetterTOEFLScores.com. Thank you for completing your speaking practice test. I think you sent it a couple of days ago. And let's take a look at what you said here. You say, Michael, please listen to, score, evaluate, and provide feedback on my independent speaking practice test number 45. So, what do you think is a better quality in a friend? One who has great conversation skills or one who is a good listener? Use details and examples to support your choice. Okay, let me get the actual rubrics. Okay, I have the independent speaking rubrics here. I'm now ready to
I
listen to
prefer
your
to have a friend
response.
who is a good listener rather than to have a friend who has great conversation skills, because empathy and being supportive are two significant qualities for me. First, having a friend who is empathetic is an important point to me. For instance, a few years ago, I had to make a choice between two jobs, and a friend of mine, Leah, had listened to me carefully and for a long time. So thanks to her, I could make a good decision. Second, having a friend who is being supportive is also an important point to me. For
Okay.
instance, I am myself a good listener, and a few years ago I had to help a friend of mine who wasn't decided if she wanted to get married to her boyfriend. So I had listened to her carefully and I gave her my best advice.
Okay, so I think you had a couple of problems with language use and some minor delivery issues, which may hold your score below 26. So I'm thinking a lot of what you do is very well paced flow, yes, but you do have maybe some minor difficulties with what I call some pronunciation problems. Language use seems to be pretty good, except for some small areas. I'm going to put your score at around 24 to 26 points out of 30. So if you didn't get 26, maybe because of some minor delivery and language use issues.
I
Let's
prefer
listen
to
to it
have a
again.
friend who is a good listener rather than to have a friend who has great conversation skills, because empathy and being supportive are two
Because let's go back to what you just
skills.
said.
Because empathy and
Because empathy,
being
empathy,
supportive are two significant qualities for me. First, having a
good. So when you're listening, you're showing empathy and you're showing support. So I like how you kind of discuss two advantages of being a good listener. That's a good strategy there.
friend who is empathetic is an important point
Who's empathetic? I have a friend who's empathetic.
to me. For instance, a few years ago, I had to make a choice between
So you had a couple of maybe some minor word stress issues. That's part of your delivery
two
issue.
jobs. And a friend of
To what?
ago, I had to make a choice between two jobs.
Between two jobs. Ah, jobs. So you did not clearly pronounce the vowel in that one syllable
And a friend
word.
of mine, Leah, had listened to me carefully and for a long time.
So she had listened to me carefully. So you're using the past perfect tense to explain that
So
idea.
thanks to her, I could make a good decision. Second, having a friend who is being supportive is also an important point to me. For instance, I am myself a good listener, and
Having a friend who is supportive. But if you go back to the question, is it better to have a good listener or good conversation skills? So you may want to reframe that and say a friend who is a good listener will show support to me in times of difficulty, something like that. So you want to make sure that you keep focused around this idea, but you can certainly talk about the advantages of being a good listener. So first of all, uh, being a good listener is an important quality because it shows empathy to the other person in the conversation. Or second of all, if my friend is a good listener, he or she will support me during times of difficulty, and then you kind of support that through a specific example.
a few years ago, I had to help a friend of mine who wasn't decided if she wanted to get married to her boyfriend.
Who that's a problem there. So I think you want to say a friend who had not decided whether or not to marry her
I had to
boyfriend.
help a friend of mine who wasn't decided if she wanted to get married to her boyfriend. So I had listened to her
So I would change that to not wasn't decided. She had not decided to. So it looks like you're using what's called active voice, not passive voice, right? So if you're using active voice, you can't say wasn't plus decided. You can say wasn't deciding. Or I think it's better to say my friend had not decided whether or not she would marry her boyfriend. That's probably a better way to say that.
carefully, and I gave her my best advice.
Okay, so I think that my score is actually pretty accurate. So you did have a little bit of trouble. It's differentiating between either using passive voice versus active voice, using the simple past or the past perfect verb tense. So be careful about those two grammar structures and don't confuse those. Overall, though, you had pretty good control of your grammar. You had some minor problems with pronunciation. One was the vowel sound with the word ah, as in jobs. Then you had a couple of word stress issues. So I'm going to say your score here is pretty much what I said before, 24 to 26 points out of 30 on this practice test. And thank you for completing it.